The ADV form is mandated by the Securities and Exchange Commission. Okay?
Investment Advisor Act of 1940.
Yeah, and you get to be a registered investment advisor, an RIA. An RIA is not a credential. It's just a registration with the government so they can track you. So hopefully to keep people like Bernie Madoff out of the system, but he was running the system. Okay? But the idea is that you can go from Merrill Lynch, Smith Barney, any registered investment advisor, and go online and get all this information. If you, for the fun of it, go to Morgan Stanley, they're a registered investment advisor, and go and do their ADV form. You have to go through every infraction that they incur. It is about 50 to 100 pages long of where they neither admit or deny, but they paid a substantial penalty. It's all online, and nobody checks. Okay, so one of the things you ought to do, whomever you're working with, you may want to go online and find their ADV form and see how many times they've been arrested. How many times, David? No? Good news, he's never been arrested. But that information would be on there. Okay? So now the fact is let's say, what licenses did you guys hold when you were selling product?
I had supervisory...
so what's the license number? Was it a
724?
24?
I was option supervisor, or a stock supervisor.
And for all of those things, you need a license to sell. And so if he had relevant licenses, you would see him on here. And that's why it's really good news. They don't have any of that stuff. No licenses whatsoever. That's good. If I was in the business of selling, what do you think I would try to make these licenses out to be?
Credentials.
Exactly. And they do. Okay? They're not. They're like minimum level of qualification to sell. So that's why this Ask First form becomes very valuable. And the fact that they don't have any licenses is a real plus. Because you can buy all quote-unquote those products at no load without commission. You don't need a commissioned salesperson to do financial planning. Is there any questions? And Kirk, you have, what is it right here? You have a 66. What does that mean?
Series 66, I get to work with David's Registered Investment Advisory as an investment advisory representative. So as a representative of David's company, I'm an extension. And so that's the FINRA licensing.
Okay.
So which group of letters are you actually looking for to sit down and do business?
It's difficult. You can't really trust a CFP.
That's right.
Because they could be selling you product. If they're a registered investment advisor, then you look and read that registered investment advisor to see whether or not it's somebody you want to work with. There is no free letters that will say, this is an ethical, competent individual. Okay?
Wouldn't somebody want to have both those? Be registered and be certified?
Yes. They're certifiable registered. No, no, you're absolutely right. That's what you want. To me, I would look for a registered investment advisor, and I would look for somebody who is a CFP. Does that make a guarantee? No. You got to read the stuff. You got to figure out, and we're going to go through it. We'll find out some other things. If they're licensed in insurance, does that make them an expert in insurance? Do you guys counsel people on insurance? So what do? You can't sell them an insurance policy, right?
No, we usually, we look at the facts, and if they need insurance, we say keep it, and if they need more insurance, then we can send them to a low, lower commissioned, somebody that would care about them.
And would you receive a kickback from that individual?
No.
Come on,
No.
you bought me drinks last night. No, and that's a question to ask. Are you getting referral fees from your sources and back and forth? You know, in the sales world, how do you get somebody to sell more?
Give them benefits.
Give them benefits, bigger commissions, but also they run contests. Hey, if you get to this level, we'll give you a trip to Europe. You know, if I'm working with a broker, I sometimes ask, are you got any contests going, you know, internally?
How do you verify they're not getting referral fees?
You can't.
Actually, if there is, it'll be in the ADP.
If you're dealing with an RIA, then you look in there, and it has to be disclosed.
And it has to be above board. But you're absolutely right. There's no way to really tell. But, you know, if they were to stumble and kind of hesitate, you maybe want to think twice.
And if they're lying on an ADB, they're in trouble. I mean, you just don't lie on. Pardon me?
But it happens.
Sure. Sure it does.
Yeah. Priests are not all priests, you know. I have my collar at home. Okay. Legal services. You guys are not involved in the practice of law, but do you work with people and putting their estate plan together?
Yes.
Absolutely. And then they refer out to an attorney who does the work. You guys are not CPAs. What happens there?
Well, we do a lot of the numbers that we're capable of doing, and we say that you've got to check this with your CPA.
Yeah. It's no longer where you can do all of this stuff yourself. You know, it's impossible. Especially if you have a significant size estate. One guy can't do it. One girl, one woman can't do it. You know, you need a team. You need that CPA. You need that attorney to do the financial planning process. Business relationship. This is the crucial one, I think, on the entire page. One, and they both say true. I will at all times serve as a fiduciary and put your interest before my interest and those of my employer. So if they do something in the relationship that is not in your best interest but in their own best interest, they are subject to liability. And this little sheet of paper right here, because they certify that the above is true and correct, is a great winner in a lawsuit.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
There's no contest.
I don't believe it,
it is true.
because I believe that no one would say false. And I believe that if they were taken
It
to
has-
court, they would say, I thought this was going to be in my client's
Yeah.
best.
Everybody, 95, remember we said 95% of the people in the financial services industry sell? They're under what's called a suitability standard. And so they're only going to be held liable if they sell you an insurance product or a mutual fund or a gold fund or whatever, if it's unsuitable.
Clearly unsuitable.
Clearly unsuitable. However,
Any firm that anybody would sign that, if they're a sales, and if they signed that they were a fiduciary, and if their firm, doesn't matter who it is, got hold of that, they would maybe not lose their job, but they would have to correct it, and they would be told that they are not a fiduciary.
yes,
They are not a fiduciary.
yeah. There's very few people in this industry who are fiduciaries and who are legally required to put your best interest first. Only a registered investment advisor will be under a fiduciary standard. Would you want to work with anybody else who could not be? I can't see it, you know? Why? If you work with somebody at Smith Barney, they have a license similar to what Kirk just said. He's a registered rep of David. If you was with Smith Barney, Kirk would be a registered rep of Smith Barney. And therefore, his fiduciary duty, his best interest, is work for the best interest of the company, not for you. Do you see on this? It's a little bit more clear if you look at the compensation issue. Look at the compensation. It has 2 marks on there. It says, one, ways I will be paid, and then it has a little box over here on the other side, and it says, payment will be made by. Okay? So, name each person or company. If Kirk was working for Smith Barney, you would not write out the check to Kirk. Or the payroll check that Kirk would receive comes from Smith Barney, not from you. You pay Smith Barney pays Kirk. In this particular case, you would pay David, and David pays Kirk. So it really is important how that payment structure is made, and that's why they distinguish the two. It's a little bit confusing. Can I answer a question on this?
The other step also is that in that Smith Barney model, Smith Barney is actually paid by the mutual fund company or the insurance company. So it's not actual compensation coming directly from you, typically.
Yeah, and so what you want to do is if you pay David, now who does David have a responsibility to? You, the client. Okay, and that's what you want. By the way, you guys don't look like saints, and you work for free. So how do you charge?
We charge what is in our ADV that's being passed around, and the simple answer is 1% of anything under $75 million.
Okay, I'm going to say, since the typical investment is $100,000, I'm going to give you $100,000 to invest. How would you be paid?
I'd be paid 1% divided by 4 at the end of the first quarter.
So
Prorated basis if it was a partial quarter.
Okay, first quarter, and what would you be paid?
I would be paid 1%, 10,000 divided by 4.
10,000, that's 1,000. 1% of 100.
Excuse me, 1,000.
We don't want to go to him.
I'm used to millions.
So that's $1,000.
1,000 divided by 4.
So that would be $250.
$250.
Okay.
And
So,
that's up front.
No.
Oh, that's
It can be, but it depends on how you write the agreement. We'll talk about a little bit later in financial planning 1. But we have to have an agreement and it spells it right in there exactly if it's in arrears, which is...
question is, what do you do?
We send out...
No. What do you do as far as payment? Do you get it up front or do you get it after the first quarter?
After the first quarter.
Okay, so they take it out after the first quarter. But it's a great question to ask. Some financial planners take it up front.
And it can be...
It's either way.
negotiated, too.
And it is up to negotiation.
But it's in writing. When you decide on it, it's in writing between both of you.
So for 3 months, it costs you $250. Remember the mutual fund? Okay, American funds. Okay, we put $100,000 in. I just want to give this comparison. How did the American fund salesperson get paid? Commission. It was, let's say, I think it was 5.75, but I'm just going to say 6 because I can't do 5.75. What's 6% of 100,000?
6,000
6,000. And when did they get that 6,000?
up front.
Up front.
There's front loader and a rear loader.
Yeah, but let's just say this is an A fund up front. $6,000. $6,000 on this one, and by the way, your investment now, instead of being 100,000, it would be what? 94. Okay, look at this. 250 to $6,000.
This was an annuity, this would be 9,000.
Yeah, if it was annuity, it would be 9,000. That's why Kirk said I could starve going on a fee-only basis.
It's really true.
It's really true.